Well, let's change gears just a little bit and talk about Ansu Fati because
Yeah.
Champions League, wherever Barcelona is next year, Copa del Rey, Champions League, La Liga,
Mm.
you're going to hope that Ansu Fati is a big player and a major player, a starter, an important member of Blaugrana last season.
Oh
And
man,
the
yes.
story for Mallorca was that he returned. I think the
Yeah.
goal, yes, obviously the goals and the winning of the game, all that stuff matters. But Ansu, even in it was, I say second gear, and I always call it Jordi Alba for going to second gear sometimes, but
Yeah.
Ansu Fati was in barely in first gear, and that was
Yeah.
totally fine, right? He was like just walking around the field.
He's just
Totally
finding
fine.
his legs again. Yeah.
Exactly. Returning to the field. As always, the ovation from the Camp Nou crowd.
Mm.
It was nice to see them kind of return to supporting the team in a way that they haven't for the last few weeks. So it was nice to see their responses prior to Ansu even. And then again, the minute you see him warming up, you hear it, you see it, everybody going crazy. But most importantly, I think for Ansu was the comment that Xavi made post-game, where he didn't really say anything too crazy, but he did hint that he sees Ansu as the number 9 in the long term. And that it's kind of interesting, but it's kind of not, because we all say it and it's all this possibility and it all makes sense in our brains, but we all keep putting Ansu on the left anyway, because that's where he's been. And that's where the known commodity is, right? And so Ansu has played through the middle sometimes, and he's been great through the middle. And I wonder if this is even a sharper pivot with this latest return to have him as a future number 9 to preserve him and prolong his career. Because if you play in Xavi's system as a winger, you have got to run. You've got to run and run and run and defend and do a lot of things. And if you are the center forward, you've got 2 jobs as a number 9 in Xavi's system. Put the ball in the back of the net. You got to be a clinical finisher, and obviously
he is that.
Check those boxes. And then you also need to be able to lead the press, but not as a sole presser. You lead the press with the higher interior, usually on the opposite side, which is, in this case, a young man named Pedri. So the point of your pressure comes from one of your high interiors who's coming up, and then the other interior, that being Gabi, a perfect spot for him, right underneath the other interior, in the middle of the interior, and the number 9, with the wingers still out wide, canceling out those wing backs or the fullbacks from the opposition team. And that is the press that Xavi, whether he's playing in a 4-3-3 or he's playing in the 3-4-3, which again, based on the transfers, it hints that that still might be his full mission, his full fruition of his ideas is going to be a 3-4-3 next season, or in the post Busquets era. Let's put it that way. In the post Alba era, we don't need a left back like Alba, and you don't necessarily need a defensive midfielder like Busquets. You shift 3-4-3 because that's what personnel is going to fit in the future. So all of those things considered, Ansu does make sense in this hypothetical number 9 situation that Xavi is looking forward towards through the future. And again, just having him also stretch his legs out and play at the number 9 does make sense, especially, and we're going to talk about Memphis in a second, but when you have Memphis on the left, where Ferran Torres, is he a number 9? I guess still not right now. And I think Xavi has shown you that he's more inclined to not even use him out of necessity because he's failing. Like us thinking Ferran Torres is this mess of a player and doesn't know how to figure it out. That does not make sense with the stats, as you and I have talked about before, and 2, does not make sense with what Xavi says about Ferran Torres. Like, he might be trying to gas him up and give him confidence, but Xavi seems to really like his spacing and his work rate, and he understands that even if he is missing a few shots or not putting the ball in the back of the net the way you expect him to, his numbers still say that he has been doing it enough that, he's just in the right spots all the time, and you're blaming him more for the times he doesn't finish than.
So you just said the thing that I was thinking, that even when he doesn't put the ball in the net, Ferran Torres he has a genuine gift for being in the right spot to both encounter the ball and encounter the ball in a position where there's a good opportunity to score.
Yeah, but we've done the Ferran Torres like many times. But speaking of the Ansu point, right? Because again, it was kind of weird that we start with Ansu because he subbed on, and then we do Memphis. But but the way it all fits together, if Dembele renews, and who knows, again, we'll do Memphis in a second. Aubameyang has another year where his wages are also going to go up, and Ferran Torres is involved too. And I mean, you're now talking that's your forward line. So where do you see? I mean, do you agree with Xavi, and how do you find Ansu's future playing out?
So I think, like you said, Ansu has all the necessary tools and skills to be an elite number 9. And I mean, what we talked about now in, Aubameyang and Memphis when he's on, Barca do have guys who are excellent at putting the ball in the net. And, but Ansu is if he's on and he has a good run of games and he's, really at his best, he is an elite clinical finisher. And having him, in the middle in front of goal and having those chances fall to him rather than whomever else they might fall to is preferable first and foremost. Secondly, to the other point that you brought up, I mean, if we've seen anything in, we've seen prodigious, incredible talent from Ansu, but, he's gotten injured a lot. And, if you can put him in a position where he is in a premier spot and he's making massive contributions to the team, but he doesn't have to kind of run at full pelt as often and risk, just re-injury or aggravating these injuries. I'm all for that. I mean, if, we are a little bit, at least in my mind, we are a little bit at the point where I want to, and when I say protect him, I don't mean limit his time on the pitch or limit the number of games that he plays, but just the manner in which he's deployed needs to take into account that, at this young age, he's already had, a number of fairly serious injuries that have kept him out for extended periods of time.
And so missing the meniscus is something that's not going to go away. It's not like Dembele, every single one of Dembele's hamstring injuries or muscle injuries have all technically been rectified. And in theory, Dembele is going to be 100%. Yes, guys are injury prone, but in theory, he's able to be 100% in case he doesn't get injured. But Ansu is, again, he's never going to be able to get back. I mean, not even get back to what he was, because again, he might improve. He's definitely going to improve as a player.
He'll be better at other things.
Yeah. He'll look like he's improved, but physically, he'll never be able to be 100%. And that it kills you. I mean, but so many professional athletes are, by the way. Like so many athletes had an ankle injury when they were 18, where you don't know they have a rod, but some guys have a rod in their ankle, and you don't know that. And it happened when they were, or many players, like even David Villa, right? Like David Villa, he played till he was 38. For back in Japan.
Japan and New York, and
But when was the drop off for him, right? The drop off was kind of 33, 34 between Barca and Atletico Madrid. He was still good in that final season of Atletico Madrid. Then
exactly.
Yeah, so then he goes to NYCFC, and then in 2015, I mean, but he had broken his leg, and I think Ansu had done that too already in his career when he was little. But for Villa, he was able to survive, and other players have been able to survive it too. But as far as Ansu's injury issues, it's just, I think it's always going to plague him. Unfortunately, Pedri would be the opposite, where it's like you hope that Pedri can get to 100%. Just give him some rest, take the summer, and call it a day.
Exactly. It was it's like with Pedri, Pedri's almost been it's been like 2 years that he's essentially just been getting driven into the ground. Just whenever he's healthy, it's pedal to the metal with him. So with Pedri, you feel like just some time for rest and recuperation and just, a little bit of healing. Like he should be fine. But with Ansu, it's as much as we want him to be 100% healthy. And I mean, God, do we ever? And, we do have to take into account the actual physical toll that those injuries have taken on him. And he needs to be put in a spot where the physical demands of the role aren't putting him, I don't even want to say at increased risk, but, at any sort of increased risk of injury. Put him in a place where his skills can shine through and he can be the best version of himself, where he's also not having to go at that, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 all the time and risk a new injury. Because this guy is, he's a gem. Like he's legitimately he's a superstar in waiting if he can get, a solid, just not even a solid run of games, but if he can just stay healthy for 2 or 3 years, he's going to be an inner circle superstar in the game. And everything has to be geared towards ensuring that he's healthy and on the pitch as much as possible.
And for some of the players that can complement him, let's do Memphis Depay now.
Yeah.
Because he, not only may he stay, but he could also be an important piece next season. And, I've kind of had to unhinge my brain because, it was funny. He's only missed 14 matches this season, and I'll get that in a second. But I kind of have to put my thinking cap on and say, hey, this guy, even though I kind of forgot about him in the time when he was out, because
I totally did too.
he was out when Barca were playing their best, right? Like he was their reference point, their number 9, their savior under Koeman. And you almost felt like he left with Koeman. Like that was the feeling that
he was like Koeman's guy. It felt like,
And so we saw how good he could, not how good he can be, but you saw where he's much more comfortable on that left wing, and Aubameyang just doing wonders for him, an existing reference, existing number 9. And the times when Aubameyang's touch was good yesterday, it opened up a lot for Barcelona left side, which included Memphis Depay. So when Aubameyang was able to drop in to the right side and to shade over to De Jong and Dani Alves' side and drop in there, they were able to get those switches over to the strong side where they had Alba, Gavi, and Memphis, who are all pretty comfortable in working in small spaces. And that's something about Memphis where he can't really work on an island with his back to the goal as a reference number 9. Like he can play with, use those strong shoulders and that strong back and those strong hamstrings with his back to the goal. He can do those things, but he also needs someone close to him. He needs a reference point. So it's almost as if, he's better as a secondary striker, or he's better in a 2-pair up top. And so Aubameyang having him being a reference point for him made him just much more useful on that left wing. And, looking at his years, it's been interesting, right? He has 9 goals in 23 appearances as the 9, 3 goals in 9 appearances as a left winger. So that's 34 total appearances or 32 total appearances on the season. And then, or rather 12 goals in 2 assists in 34 appearances. There we go.
Yes.
So, but as I said, he only missed 14 games this season, played 34. But oddly enough, this is the odd stat here, right? Barca only lost one of those 14 games that he did not feature, the extra time defeat to Athletic Club in the Copa del Rey. So you get this sense that with Barcelona, the way this team constructed and with who's in the squad, if they renewed Emile, you don't really need Memphis Depay, right? This team is capable of doing well. And this is an idea, I think, that can you upgrade that position, a forward position? Obviously they want a number 9, but can you upgrade that forward position outside of Memphis Depay? But if Ansu's going to play at the 9, and obviously Barcelona don't have the money to really splash the cash, a major number 9, then you're just going to kind of have to handle Memphis Depay playing as your left winger. And, it is a domino effect. I think Memphis's future is number 3 behind, as far as the forwards go, Dembele's renewal, Ansu's health, especially in the offseason. And then with Memphis, he's got a contract until next summer when he'll become a free agent at 29. So do you just hang on to him for another year and let him walk as a free agent? Or do you try to cash in? But it's the opportunity cost, right? Where Memphis next season, just being a rotation beast, being your 4th forward, you could do a lot, or 5th forward rather, if it's Ansu and Dembele and Ferran Torres, as well as Aubameyang, right? And Memphis is 4 or 5. And I think you do a lot worse than having Memphis Depay be your 5th forward, certainly. Where the opportunity cost is he going to, gold costs money. So is he going to make you more money, if you will, or give you more value in 1 year before becoming a free agent than you would spend on a player that might flop, right? Like you might spend 20 million on a player who flops, as opposed to losing the market value of Memphis, who might only go for 15 or 20 mil because he has 1 year left.
Exactly.
Right? So that's really the mathematical calculation you've got to do with Memphis now.
So so that was kind of as you were talking, that was kind of the thought process that I was going through was, so if you're another club and you're going to buy Memphis from Barca, I mean, you don't know, he's not going to go for 30, 40, 50 million. So you're not, even the version of kind of quote cashing in, it's not bringing you a windfall. I mean, it's of course it's not nothing, but so, you have that on the one side, but given what he's shown, and I mean, he's shown an ability to be up for big moments with Barca. He, and as much as I hate, any of these types of terms, sort of that the shirt didn't seem too big for him. Like he didn't, he felt like he was comfortable sliding into a role with Barca rather than where I always felt like Antoine Griezmann, for example. I always felt like he, for as talented and committed as he was, I felt like he was always trying to I don't know, almost kind of calibrate and perfect what he thought a Barca player needed to be and do, where Memphis has come in and given us his interpretation of what Memphis Depay as Barcelona striker is. So in that sense, I think it's great. And I think also, given the relatively small transfer fee he would command on the open market, having those 5 strikers, I mean, next season, if presumably it's going to be the league, the Copa del Rey, and you're in the Champions League, and ideally, you want to get out of your Champions League group and you want to be playing in, on those European nights in February and things like that. I mean, you're going to need that. You're going to need that depth. I mean, all 5 of those guys, everyone might not play as much as they want all the time, but you're going to need all 5 of those guys at various points. And, I mean, whatever it is, even if it's just kind of small nagging stuff or soreness or fatigue or whatever, kind of, injuries and physical stuff happen where you want and need depth. And I don't know that there's an avenue to securing better depth than Memphis if you let Memphis go for what Barca can afford.